What's up guys, Cruz here with Buttoned Up, and I want to bring you a tutorial that has no BS, no fluff, and today we're going to be talking about how to build out your day of timeline. Now, a lot of photographers offer this. We offer this service for our own couples where we actually build their timeline out, but for you couples who just want to get ahead of it, if maybe you're type A and you just want to get all these details knocked out and you're not really sure exactly where to start, this is the video for you, so stay tuned. Watch this video. I'm going to walk you through exactly where my mindset is at when I'm creating this timeline, so hopefully when you're building yours, it'll turn out close, if not exactly how you imagined it. Let's get into it. Now, I'm screen recording everything I'm doing, so if you're watching this and you're following along, feel free to pause the video and go back if you want to go review something. But I'm going to go ahead, start building this timeline out and talking you through exactly why I'm doing specific things, so that way you can implement this into your own wedding as well. Here we go. This might seem like common sense, but a lot of the times what couples like to do is they like to start from the very start of their day and build their timeline out from start to finish, which is great. But I think when you build a timeline out, you should focus around the focal point of what the day is going to be about, which is the ceremony, right? That's why everyone's showing up. That's why everyone's there, is they want to watch the ceremony. And so in my opinion, I think that you should build the timeline out surrounding the most important moment of the day, which is the ceremony. So what I always start off in my timeline is typing out ceremony. And let's just say for this instance, in Nebraska, a lot of weddings happen around 5 o'clock. Obviously, customize this for where you are at specifically, but for us, for this situation, we're going to keep it super easy. We're going to say this ceremony is happening at 5 o'clock. So I'm going to put that in here. So now you have to ask yourself the question, how long is this ceremony going to be? In my experience, if it's typically, say, a Catholic Mass, which we've filmed plenty of those can typically range around 45 minutes to 50 minutes. But what I am a huge advocate of, and what I think that you should do as you're building this timeline out, is always add buffer room, because from what I've experienced, no matter how detailed we plan the day, things always tend to fall behind just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is anticipate that this is going to be a Catholic Mass, and let's say this Mass is 45 minutes. I'm going to say that the ceremony is going to last about an hour, and I'm accommodating for things like processionals, communion, all the little things that happen during the Mass. I'm going to try and take that into account. And so if I'm anticipating the ceremony is going to be 45 minutes, I'm going to give a little bit of a window and say an hour. If you anticipate your ceremony being 20 minutes, anticipate it being probably 30 minutes. So just always give just a little bit more buffer room than you think you need. So we're going to say the ceremony finishes at 6 o'clock, which gives us 1 hour. So then what I like to do is I tell the couples, at this point, the ball is in your court, because this is like the truth of the matter is, and I hope that this adds a little bit of ease to your situation, but the flow of the reception doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter. We've had couples where they do their grand entrances and then they go straight into their first dance, and then they cut the cake, and then they do then they go to dinner. Or sometimes they'll do their grand entrances and then they'll go straight into dinner, and then they'll cut their cake for like dessert, and then they'll go into their first dances with their mom, their dad, and the couple. So it doesn't really matter, but the common theme that you're going to see me continue to say is to always give yourself buffer room. Now, I'm going to give you estimates for how long these different things last, but remember, this is your wedding day, and so take away and add things that you wish, but always give buffer room. So after the ceremony, typically what we see is either a cocktail hour, or couples will just go straight into grand entrances. So in this instance, we're going to anticipate that the couple is going to have a cocktail hour. So I always like to mark off when the cocktail hour starts, which we're going to assume it's going to start at 6 because we gave ourselves that little bit of buffer. So we're going to say ceremony ends and cocktail hour starts. How long is cocktail hour? It's about an hour. So we're going to say cocktail hour ends at 7. And normally what I see during cocktail hour is, although we say it's going to last an hour, the DJ will typically start to cut it off around the 45 to 50 minute mark, so that way you can start shuffling people into actually sitting down. Otherwise, you start to fall behind on the schedule a ton. So we're going to anticipate that the DJ is going to start corralling people around 6:45. So around 7 is when we'll say we'll do grand entrances. Now remember, the flow of this after this doesn't really matter, but I'm going to build it out the most typical way I see. Build it out however you want. So from what I normally see, and at least where we're at with weddings, normally the flow of the reception goes grand entrances, cake cutting, into dinner. Then we give ourselves about a 30 to 45 minute window for dinner. I would say do not do anything less than 30 minutes. Give yourself time to eat because you will be exhausted after the ceremony. You will be exhausted. So give yourself time to eat. Then after dinner, what we're going to do is we're going to build it out. So after dinner is speeches, first dances, then open dancing. All open dancing means is that all the important stuff, like the super, super, super important stuff, like speeches, is done. And now people can go on the dance floor and have a party. So we're going to build this out. Grand entrances, even if you have a massive party, normally doesn't take longer than about 10 minutes. So we're going to anticipate this is minute for minute here. We're going to say 7:15. So we're going to say 7:15 is when the grand entrances are done, and our couples are going to go, just cut their cake. Sometimes people like to do it where, they do it kind of hidden off to the side. Other times, couples like to have all the attention on them, which is totally fine either way. But this gives us a little bit of a buffer, so that way we can do that. So we're going to say cut the cake, and then after that is dinner. Cutting the cake doesn't take that long. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes. So we'll say 7:25 is when you'll start dinner. Now, there's a couple things you have to anticipate. As you've gone through your wedding planning, you know that a lot of the times couples will do a buffet. A lot of times couples will do a plated dinner. If you do a plated dinner, in my opinion, it does take a little bit longer, in my opinion, from what I've seen. I think buffets go a little bit faster. If you've experienced something different, feel free to comment down below. Just from where we're at and from what I've seen personally at weddings, a lot of the times I think buffets go a lot quicker just because people go and grab their food and then they get out of there. So if you've seen something different, comment down below. But we're going to give ourselves a 30-minute buffer so that way you as the couple hopefully get the chance to just to sit down and to eat, okay? So 30-minute buffer, we're going to say that's going to end at 7:55. I like to round up, so let's just round up to 8 o'clock. So 8 o'clock is when you will for sure be done eating, okay? And then I'm going to put a little backslash here, and ideally this is when we're going to start speeches. Now, you have to anticipate as a couple how many speeches you're going to do and how long they're going to last. I will give a little bit of a piece of advice here, is that if you're going to do speeches and you're going to do multiple, at least at the minimum, give the people who are speaking a rough estimate on how long their speeches should be. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 10 minutes. If you want it to be 30 minutes, go for it. But that way your videographer and your photographer can anticipate and plan for that type of situation. Okay? So in this specific instance, we're going to say the speeches are about 10 minutes apiece. The best man, the maid of honor, and dad of the bride is going to give a speech. So about a 30-minute time split there. So we'll say speeches will start at 8 o'clock and they will end at 8:30. Awesome. After 8:30, we'll do first dances. First dances don't take that long. You anticipate each song's about 3 minutes. So I always tell people, about 10 to 15 minutes for first dances. So we'll say 8:45. So we'll give ourselves a 15-minute buffer. Whoa. Is when first dances finish. Cannot type today. Awesome. After this, guys, we can put a backslash and say open dancing starts. And so after that, really the ball is in your guys' court. If you want to do, a dollar dance or you want to do a bouquet toss, I tell all the couples, after open dancing starts, basically the flow of the evening is totally up to them. You can have the DJ surprise them. You can obviously yourselves, if you'd like, set those times specifically in the schedule. But at this point, we have from the ceremony up until open dancing figured out. Now we have to ask ourselves the question, what is the ceremony to getting ready? So building ourselves backwards now, building the schedule backwards now. What does that look like? Now, there's a couple things logistically that play a factor in here. One of the biggest things is if you're going to do a first look or if you're not going to do a first look. If you do a first look, there's a couple benefits to that. One of the main benefits is the fact that you can get the majority of your photos done before the ceremony itself starts. Now, keep in mind and ask yourself the question, do I, as the groom or as the bride, do I want to put all of my energy into photos before the ceremony? If the answer is yes, perfect. Go ahead and do that. If the answer is no, we might want to look at doing the majority of the photos after the ceremony. Now, I know this is a lot. I'm just trying to put questions into your head that you should be asking yourself, in my opinion, before. And I've also learned this from planning my own wedding and building the schedule out for my own wedding. And so let's just anticipate that we are going to do a first look, and the bride who wants to do this also would like to get as many photos out of the way before the ceremony as she can. So we're going to anticipate that there will be a first look. Now, before the ceremony, this is huge. Build this into your timeline right now. Pause the video, build this into your timeline. Give yourselves at least, at a minimum, 30 minutes to rest. 30 minutes, because if you're doing photos before the ceremony, it's going to be exhausting. It is going to be so tiring. And so give yourselves at least 30 minutes to hide, get some water, get a couple crackers down. So that way, when you guys go up to the altar, it's not going to be the most intimidating thing in the entire world. Especially if you're doing, I believe, a Catholic Mass. I don't remember if you stand the whole time or not, but standing, kneeling, sitting, trying to pay attention like for an hour, regardless of whatever it is you're doing, is like mentally and sometimes physically exhausting. And so just give yourself some water, give yourself some snacks, and then freaking get after it. Okay? So we're going to say a 30-minute window to rest. I always put an asterisk and then put rest right in there. And then after that, I like to build my way backwards. So let's kind of replay the situation again. There's going to be a first look, and we're getting the majority of our photos, which when I hear majority of photos, I anticipate pretty much all the wedding party photos. So we're going to get the majority of the wedding party photos out of the way. I find it easiest from what I've seen other photographers do, and also myself, is a lot of the times we'll approach it from doing the full wedding party, and then it'll go bridesmaids, groomsmen. So that way the bride, this is why we do it, that way the bride doesn't have to move around in her dress a bunch. So you do full wedding party photos, because you're the bride, you're in your dress, you're moving around a lot. Then we do bridesmaids, because you're the bride, you're still in your dress, still moving around a lot, but then once we go to groomsmen, you can finally take a break before the ceremony. So that way you're not in, out, right? Awesome. So, building this way backwards, we're going to do groomsmen photos. Then we're going to do bridesmaid photos. And then we're going to do full wedding party photos. Notice how I'm not putting times here either, not just yet. I'm building out the visual first so that way I can put the times in. It makes the whole process easier from me at least. So notice how I'm building this backwards. Groomsmen, bridesmaids, full party photos. But if you read it from start to finish, it's full party, bridesmaids, groomsmen. So remember what I talked about earlier. Right, awesome. After this, we're going to do first look. And typically during the first look, that's a great time to get couple portraits out of the way, because you will be doing a lot of stuff and it will be very difficult to get couple portrait photos out of the way until probably after dinner. And we'll kind of tweak this timeline a little bit, but I would do first look and couple portraits. Awesome. And then a really good point to put in here would be finish getting ready. And then for you girls, I would say start getting ready. It's a formatting thing. I have a problem with it. Okay, so if we kind of look at the timeline now, groomsmen, bridesmaids, full wedding party, first look, finish getting ready, start getting ready. Now, this is a very bare bones, very basic timeline. I've said this plenty of times throughout this video. Customize it how you see fit. A lot of the times couples will like to put where the groom's getting ready, where the bride's getting ready, especially if you guys are getting ready in different locations, which is super important. Just make sure you mark those off. Mark off, when the guys are planning on getting ready, when they plan on finish getting ready. Try to plan for if you have to travel for specific venues. Try and keep all those things in mind. I'm just assuming that everything's in one place. So, depending on your hairstylist and depending on your makeup artist, every girl probably needs about 30 to 45 minutes to do their hair and their makeup, right? I would consult specifically with your hair stylist or makeup artist. But as far as wedding party photos go, I think a reasonable amount of time to do each section is about a 30-minute window. It's a lot longer than you think. And specifically, if your photographer is prepped and ready as far as, photo ideas or poses or stances go, 30 minutes is more than enough time. So we're going to build backwards in 30-minute increments. So you have a rest at 4:30, which means that your groomsmen photos should take place at 4 o'clock, which means your bridesmaid photos should take place at 3:30. Full wedding party photos will take place at 3 o'clock. And then your first look, same thing, will take place at 2:30. Gives you plenty of time just to hang out too with your fella or with your girl and take cute pictures and also just have a chance just to talk because it's a very exciting time for the two of you. And I would say out of all the things to allocate the most time to, it would be rest time and your first look because you don't want to feel rushed, and especially if you just want a chance to talk to your significant other, those things are super, super important. I didn't do a first look on my wedding day. A lot of people are like, why would you not do that? And transparently, I'm very traditional. And so I wanted to see my wife the first time she came down the aisle. One of the most breathtaking moments of my life. I bawled like a baby. I'll include that moment here in the video just so you can see it. And it was one of the most special things ever. Afterwards, we did a private vow reading. We didn't record it. We didn't film it or anything because advocate and a huge believer that if a moment is special for you and you truly want to make a moment special for the two of you, it's very difficult to do that with somebody like myself or my team or anyone with a camera in your face while you're trying to do your very heartfelt private vows with each other. So my wife and I chose to do our private reading up in the bridal suite, and it was amazing. And I will remember it forever, and I have the vow book and everything to read it. And also in my wedding video, I didn't necessarily want to share that with the world. So that way you don't feel weird as a videographer is telling you, if you want to keep something private, feel free to keep it private, but we're there to document the wedding day. And so be sure to communicate that with your professionals. Anyway, building backwards. Finish getting ready. I would say ideally the best time would be 2 o'clock. And so then we just have to really ask ourselves the question of, okay, girls and guys, say they finish getting ready at 2 o'clock. Say we have 4 girls and say it takes 30 minutes for each girl to finish getting ready. It's going to be about 2.5 to 3 hours. If we're saying let's say 45-minute increments. So about 3 hours of truly getting ready. And so that would start you probably wanting to start getting ready at around 11 a.m. Now, this is just rough timelines. I know there's probably brides out there who are like, I need way more time than that to get ready, and that's totally fine. Just make sure you allocate that per girl, right? Or, we say guys, but guys take 5 minutes to get ready, truthfully, so that's why I don't really account for them. But with girls specifically, just take whatever your person says and then multiply that by how many girls you have, including moms, and everyone else, because that's a huge component to this timeline, is making sure you know when you're going to start and finish getting ready. After that, we really just need to take a look at our timeline, make sure everything looks good. So if we run through it, from 11 to 2 is when we're getting ready, for the girls are getting ready. 2:30 is when we're going to do our first look, and that's also when we're going to take photos with our significant other. And then 3 o'clock, we're going to do a full wedding party photo. 3:30, bridesmaids are going to do her photos, so that way the bride can rest. 4 o'clock, groomsmen are going to do their photos. And then at 4:30, the entire wedding party can rest before the ceremony at 5. The ceremony is about an hour long. It means it's going to get done at 6, which is when the cocktail hour starts. And this is super important. A lot of times, if we're going to get most of our photos done before the ceremony, during the cocktail hour is the perfect time to do family photos. So now that we're going through this, I'm going to add that in here. We'll say 6:15, family photos. And then we can pretty much go on throughout the rest of the night like that. So 7 o'clock, grand entrances, 7:15, cake cutting, 7:25, dinner. Now, if you're a huge fan of wanting to get sunset photos, I would just look at when you're getting married and where you're getting married and plan accordingly. So let's say sunset is in the middle of the summer at 8 o'clock, 8:15, 8:30, whatever it is. Basically what we can do here, let's say sunsets at 8 o'clock. We would look at this dinner window right here. Now, 30 minutes is about the exact time frame that I would say that you should take to eat. If you can get done eating a little bit sooner, in between dinner and speeches is a perfect time for the couple to sneak away and do some really cute sunset photos. So we're going to put this little note in here by using a bracket, and we're going to say couple sneaks away for sunset photos. Awesome. Cool. Awesome. So the couple sneaks away for sunset photos, and then the rest of the night can basically flow exactly how we have planned here. 8 o'clock is when everyone gets done eating and the speeches start. 8:30 is when the speeches end and the first dances start. And then 8:45 is when the first dances finish and the open dancing starts. And that's how I build out our timelines. Outside of that, the way I normally like to lay our timelines out is I always like to put our logo kind of at the top, name, day of schedule. Contact info is huge, so make sure that you put in, your videographer, photographer, DJ, if you have an event coordinator, if you have a day of coordinator, venue coordinator. So anyone that's super important that needs to be contacted by an emergency on the day of by any of the vendors, include them in there. Always have a contact section. And then also addresses for locations. Important locations to have are reception location, ceremony location, and then all getting ready locations, as well as any locations if you want to go offsite to take pictures. These are just some extra things to add. This is how we build our timelines out, guys. Exactly. This is where our mindset's at. But as I'm building this out with couples, a lot of the times this can look different depending on what a couple wants. Each of these is made custom for our couples, but the flow of it is entirely dependent on you guys. So I hope this video helps. I hope that this video adds a ton of value for you brides out there, you grooms out there planning your wedding day, because we go into these things not knowing what we're doing, because for a lot of us, this is our first wedding getting married. So I feel you, I get you, I am with you, I am here for you. But if you have any questions, all of our contact info is up in our description on the channel. You can also find all of our work and also get a hold of me personally through our website at www.buttondupweddings.com. And you can also reach us at hello@buttondupweddings as well. But I hope this video added value to you. If you did find value in this video, feel free to share this with one of your homegirls who's getting married. I just want to make sure that I am helping ease this process as we go through wedding planning. And if you guys are creatives or wedding professionals and you have any input on this specific thing in general, feel free to comment down below. Or like I said, shoot us a DM personally. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to subscribe if you guys felt like you got a lot of value out of this, and I will talk to you soon. Peace out, guys.